have seen a lot of the medical side of Alzheimer's. We've seen a lot of that part of the situation, the clinical side as well. We've even talked a little bit about the legal side. So what I want to bring up now is maybe bring a little bit more human face to this process and have a very good friend of mine share some of his stories and some of his experience with this. So if you'd please give a very, very big round of applause for my friend Reggie Roundtree. Right on, yes, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good evening. Good afternoon. I just got that in my head. Good evening, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. Glad to be with you here today. Basically, I guess I'm here to kind of put a face on what we're facing. And where do I begin? Was a caretaker for my mother for about 9 years. Grew up in Miami, and my mama was living in Miami at the time. And she suffered 2 strokes. But being the good old solid Bartow, Polk County gal that she was tough and endured and had a pretty good quality of life. But during the last 3 or 4 years, there was a decline in the cognitive part. She always got my name right all the time, spoke with me all the time. But the decline was very debilitating for her. And the caretaking part, and I'll share this with you. I promised her, she always said, Reggie, do not put me in a home. And I says, okay. And during those 9 years of recuperating from the 2 strokes and then the decline with dementia and Alzheimer's, it was rather difficult. But I kept my promise. And during the last year of her life, she had 24-hour round-the-clock care, which you know can be extremely expensive. But when you make a promise to your mother, the woman that brought you into the world, who cared for you and wiped your butt and did everything and made sure that you were a good person, it's something that you look at, and as insurmountable as it appears, you do what you need to do to get through and get it done. And I kept my promise to her. And she passed away in her home like she wanted to, very peacefully. And God bless the folks in hospice over in Polk County that really helped me through all of this. But many of you, if you have experience being the caretaker, it's a difficult, difficult task, daily a difficult task. And I know oftentimes you try to find the strength and the willpower, and you got to say a lot of prayers, because that's the only thing that's probably going to get you through. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think through more seminars like this, awareness is key. You understand that you're not alone, that other people are enduring the same thing that you're going through. And you can share, and you will get strength from that. Support, albeit psychological, support in some form or fashion. After my mother passed, my father started developing some dementia, along with numerous other health problems, and cared for him at a great facility that was 1 block from my home. And Daddy lived about 2 years after Mama passed. And I had kind of learned going through the situation with my mother and the programs and things that were out there. Didn't make it easier, just I was more knowledgeable about what to do, how to do, what to expect. And I would be remiss by not saying that Sean Scott and his firm held my hand through all of this. His folks made it an impossible task possible in my sight to guide me and make me aware of what was available, what could be available, what care, where to go, my legal work that I had to do, because I was just a babe in the woods. I was lost. And there's no way in the world that I could thank Sean and his wonderful staff of compassionate, loving people for helping guide me through this. And I would recommend to anyone, if you feel lost, if you feel like you have nowhere to turn, if you feel like you don't know where to go or what to do, that office will put you on the right trail. Speaking of my father, like I said, he had some dementia coming about. And I will share this with you, and I'll try to hold myself together. His last night on this earth, I had just finished. He was being cared for at Dunedin Mease Hospital, critical care unit. And it was a Friday, about 11:30. I had just finished the newscast. 11:35, I pick up my phone, and I'm driving out of the studio. And I see the number come up from the hospital. I knew automatically that this was not a good phone call. So I pulled off of the road, right under the underpass, off of Roosevelt, and stood there, 11:45 at night, talking with a nurse named Robert. And Robert got on the phone and says, "Your father's in a catastrophic state." He says, you have a do not resuscitate order here, but we're double checking. And here's where I'm talking about having people that care about your loved one. There was an order already standing there, but he took the time to call to make sure. And I said, "Can you do compressions?" He said, "Yes, sir, we can." And I could hear it. So I'm standing there, traffic going by. I'm almost in a catastrophic state, just worried and emotions flowing. He says, "No response." I says, "Can you shock him at least one time to give him a chance?" He says, "Absolutely." I could hear the machines and the shock take place. And he says, "No response." And I said at that time, I said, "Just let him go. Let him be at peace." When I went to the hospital, I talked with this nurse, Robert. I'll never forget him. Walked into the room. Daddy was all, the machine's gone, tubes gone, wires gone, just at peace. I mean, he looked so peaceful. And he had this beautiful head of white hair. It was just absolutely gorgeous. And I walked up and I kissed him. And Robert says, "I got to tell you this. We were sitting watching you do your newscast." Bear with me. You got to hear this. And he was saying how proud he was of you. I said, "Yeah." And then he said, if any of you watch me, you know I end a newscast a certain way. No matter how bad things are, I always close out my newscast with, "Have a good night and do take care." At that point, Daddy had his massive heart attack. But that gave me some solace to know he was thinking about his son, and he was at peace with things. But I'll never forget that. And I kept that with me. I will always keep that with me. Don't despair. It's a tough journey for all of us. I've been through it, you're going through it, or having to deal with it. Understand what's available for you. Talk with the proper people. Sean guided me through a number of things, and I will always be thankful to him for that. Don't forget to get on your knees and pray a lot too, because that'll get you through a lot of things. I thank you for inviting me.